So based off of gold right now, just taking a look at it, in terms of the phase that we're in right now, I'm looking at it as a phase C, right? And typically when we are looking at phase C, what we have to pay attention to is these tests, okay? So one thing that I really want you guys to note, right, in terms of just our overall schematic, like I said, this is our upthrust after distribution. So what would this be for those of you guys that are just familiar with Wicca? If this is our upthrust after distribution right here, what would this be to the left? Drop it in chat. Okay. In terms of phase C, yeah, IPA, yeah. So that's our upthrust, right? So in terms of just really distribution, phase B, that would be our upthrust. But in terms of really where our test area will be, that really aligns with the upthrust, right? So what we're gonna sit here and now, because I really was marking this up top down, but it's like the area that I marked up, it's like that little box. To me, I already look to the left, right? To me, I can see the distribution happening without having to necessarily mark it up. And what you guys have to do to get to that point is mark it up every single time. You have to sit here and it's like after you take trades, if you can't identify it beforehand, you have to sit here and you have to mark up, okay, where did we get this buyer climax? Where did we get this upthrust, right? Where did we get this UTAP? Identify those areas so that you can just potentially look to position yourself in phase C, right? Moving forward. Because the chances are, if you're getting hit out break even, the probability of you getting in phase A to phase B is very, 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 very likely. And what we also have to understand is, let's say, for example, on the higher time frames, if we're accumulating, right? If we're accumulating on the daily, right, you might sit there and be on the hourly and the 30-minute, we might be distributing. Okay, so you also have to identify the higher time frame bias. So one thing I want to show you guys right now as well, because to me, think about trading, family, and I want you guys to write this down, right? Look at trading as a puzzle where you're gonna have to get multiple pieces from different places. So this isn't an ordinary puzzle. This isn't just a puzzle where you're gonna have all the pieces in the box. You're gonna have to think outside the box, right? You're gonna have to go outside the box in order to gather pieces, right? So you might need a piece over here. That's that personal development, that psychology. Okay. You might need that piece of development, which might be having a trading plan, right? You might need a trading journal, right? There's going to be different obstacles that we all are experiencing, and what you have to do is identify, okay, what pieces do you have right now for the puzzle? So if being a disciplined trader entails that you have a trading plan, it entails that you follow a trading plan, it entails that you follow risk management, it implies that you utilize a good risk to reward. Drop in the chat, what do you guys think a good risk to reward is? Out of curiosity, right? Because a good risk to reward is one thing ideally that we look for. Okay. 1 to 5 or more. Yep. Right. So one thing that's really going to change your perspective for a lot of you guys is going to be being able to shift that perspective. So a lot of you, the best risk reward that you guys said is a 1 to 5. To me, a 1 to 5 is not very good. Okay. And the reason why I say that's not very good is because think about this. Most people have anywhere from like a 30 to 50, maybe 60% win rate on average, right? The average trader. So if you win 30 to 60% of your trades, what that means is you're still going to have to be pretty accurate. Because let's say, what if you lose 8, 9 trades in a row? 1 to 5 is not going to have you profitable. You're going to have to win 2 trades to be profitable. Okay. So now what I want you guys to imagine, right, is imagine instead of taking a 1 to 5, you guys are able to position yourself in a 1 to 20, a 1 to 40. It's like for you guys, that's not realistic, and everything is based off of what your paradigm is, right? A lot of the time you guys are taught, oh, 1 to 3. Yeah, 1 to 3 is good. right? But at the same time, it's how do you position yourself into trades to catch these 1 to 10s, one, like, if you're a part of my squad and you've been following me for a little bit, right? How many like 1 to 20 and above have you guys seen me just sit here and just either call out or just consistently drop, right? Because you guys have been on the live trading. So it's like it's consistent. And this is what you guys have to understand. You guys can easily do the same thing. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes you look to trade every single day, and that's where you're eating away at your profits. So instead of trading every day, what we need to look to do is sit here and look for the best setups 1 to 2 times a week, catch those trades and be done. Because if you wait for the best setup every single week, and to me, how many of you guys have heard me say Sundays is literally my favorite days, because I really think right now you guys are going to be able to catch a potential swing trade, right, to just these lows. So what I wanted to pull up, right, give me 2 seconds, was just something that, like I said, this is going to be another puzzle piece. So this is going to be something that is really going to help align everything. Because if we need to trade, like, what we need to do in order to grow in terms of trading is just take what we're doing seriously when it comes down to the discipline. It's a little disciplines. If you guys were listening at all to the Jordan Peterson video I was just playing, what he emphasizes is just the discipline. Like, how many of you guys get anxious about things that you know that you should have done today that you know you didn't do, right? And it's like, think about how many different things that happens for on a day-to-day basis. It's the little things, but the little things add up over time. It's like it accumulates, right? Because think about it, right? If you sit here and every single time you finish eating, right? Let's say you go and you get fast food every day. Imagine you get fast food and there's a wrapper with your food, and every single day you just throw that wrapper on the ground when you're done eating. The first day, it's not so bad because it's one wrapper. Like, how many of you guys would genuinely be bothered by one wrapper? Not a lot of people, right? It's one piece of junk. But it's like, if you keep doing that every single day for 2 years, you're going to have like 600 different pieces of garbage in your room. It's like, now how many of you guys would be bothered by that? And that's what we have to put into perspective. It doesn't seem big right now, but it's like, it's the little things that really help us build certain disciplines. The reason why you're not profitable is not necessarily because you're not able to catch the trades. It's because you're not able to follow a plan. Because I know people that have trash risk reward that are profitable. So it's not a matter of your risk reward that's the reason why you're not profitable. I know people that trade 1-to-1s that are profitable. I know people that trade 1-to-1s that make like literally yearly incomes every single week. So this is what you guys have to stop doing. Stop making excuses to justify our poor habits. Like, when we have poor habits, doesn't it feel so much better to sit here and blame someone else? Like, blame the market. The market is volatile. Oh, it slipped me. It didn't take me out at my stop loss. Like, it's so much easier to do that. But what the hard thing to do is, and what we need to start doing is stop picking the easy way, pick the hard way. The hard thing to do is sit here and look at yourself and ask yourself, why are you such an undisciplined trader? And why can't you follow your rules? And what you're going to start to realize is you're not as disciplined as you think in certain aspects. Maybe you have a lack mindset. Right? If you guys want a book that will help you guys with getting out of the state of lack. So the state of lack right now, if you're living in a state of lack, if you're worried about any type of debt, if you're worried about any type of bills, if you're worried about money, if you're worried about just not having enough of anything, you're living in a state of lack. So if any of those things hit you right now, you're living in a state of lack. And what you have to do is shift out of the state of lack, because it's not that there's not enough money in the world. It's not that there's not enough of whatever you desire. It's that you're not disciplined enough to compound small amounts over time, which then will get you the big amounts that you truly desire right now. So drop an 888. Does that make sense in the chat right now, family? What I'm saying? Because I think right now that would be crucial. That information is crucial for everyone. Because like I said, it's different puzzle pieces, right? So what I want to show you guys, right now is the seasonality chart, right? So in terms of this, what we have to typically expect right now in May towards June is a little bit of a sell-off, just a little bit. So bearishness. In the last 4 years, this is my 4th year trading gold. right? And this is my second year being able to catch the seasonal move, right? Second year in a row that I was able to catch the bottom, okay? And right now, I'm anticipating a little flip. So little flip might be 500-600 points, might be 1,000, might be 1,500, might be 2,000. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to be more than a couple hundred. So this is something that we have to look forward to either right now or towards the beginning of June. But typically towards the beginning of June, that's where we start to see that flip. So typically towards the beginning of June, it's like the end of the bearishness and it's more leading towards the bullishness, because July has been like my best trading day, like within my first like 2 years, was July. Literally July was like unstoppable, because it's just like it just kept going up. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like seasonality wise, if you could literally catch buys every single week and just stack positions every single week, and ideally gold should not come back until like maybe like September, October. But the reason why I really think gold might dump a little bit more right now and be a little bit more bearish off the rip is because of the news. So remember, observe the masses and do the opposite. We just discussed how everybody's sitting there and they're talking about the US dollar. So if everybody's trying to buy metals right now, do you think it's time to buy metals? No. How long ago did I tell you guys to buy metals? You guys are late. You see what I'm saying? It's never necessarily a bad time. But if you're somebody who's tight on cash, it's like the difference between gold being at 2,000 an ounce versus it being at 16, 17 is going to be a big difference. Because to me, I personally want to see gold, now that we took the all-time high, and be honest with you, I want to see gold get back down to 1,400. So let me explain why, right? So to put this into perspective for you guys, we're looking at the 4 hour, right? So this is the entry. I'm gonna break this down a little bit more later, just because I want to break you guys down the higher time frame right now, just because it's not too time sensitive, right? But in terms of schematic, to just really the weekly, okay? One thing that we really have to pay attention to is just world events, because how many of you guys have ever heard news is the excuse? You guys ever heard that news is the excuse, right? To manipulate price, to get that increased volatility. So if you ever heard that, it's real, okay? Because this right here, how many of you guys remember what happened in March in 2020? Drop in chat. Does anybody remember what happened in March 2020? You know, there's a beer named after it. Right? So 2020, we had this crazy news event, right? Just a lot of news. There was a lot of things that were going on in the world, right? So what did we notice? We noticed increased volatility. Okay? So that was March 2020. Okay? So if we really pay attention to just the chart beforehand, okay? So prior to us really exploding up, right, out of this area, I actually remember this right here too. This was the first time I actually saw Twitter impact like the market. Like Donald Trump tweeted out something. I forgot what he tweeted out, but he tweeted out something about China. And literally gold never came back since then. Like, it was crazy. Gold just flew, right? So from 2019 up until about 2020, we were bullish. But if we really look at the schematic of things, like a lot of people were looking at gold like we were bearish. But it's like, if you really look at it from the higher time frame, we've really been bullish for years. We've been bullish since 2016. Okay? So 2015, 2016. Right? So one thing about the algorithm, right, is it always needs to come back. It's just a matter of when, right? So realistically, where I think gold can actually get down to is about 13,600. So it's like, if you guys were worried about, oh my gosh, I wanted to get gold, I wanted to buy silver, it's like, I don't think it's necessarily too late yet. I really think that the dollar is going to continue to go higher just because of the news. Like I said, there's nothing that's really indicating to me other than, like, to me, I'm like so confident. Like, I'm even more confident, right? You know, obviously the dollar could continue to drop, but it's like the likelihood of that, it's like everybody thinks the dollar is going to go down. So scarcity, what you guys have to understand is be greedy when others are fearful, and when others are greedy, be fearful. Okay. So right now, when everybody's scared, this is the time that you want to observe the masses and do the opposite, right? If everybody's scared to do something, you want to do that, right? But looking at it from the weekly, like I said, this is really where I see, in terms of an algorithm perspective, of where we need to come back and correct, right? There's a lot of liquidity, there's a lot of money, like there's a lot of hedge funds, and there's a lot of just whale buyers that are in the markets, right? The institutions, they have a lot of liquidity built up, right? There's a lot of buy side liquidity. So right now, we took literally anybody who really shorted it over the last 2 years, right? Ran out the equal highs. And now what I expect to see, right, is these equal lows down here to get taken. But immediately, like I said, this is like it's a higher time frame. It's like a weekly, right? So for us to get down here, it's going to take days, weeks, months, right? It's not just going to happen instantly. So this is something where, like I said, you can start to position yourself as we go, right? So looking at the 4-hour, like I was mentioning earlier with the distribution, right? So really where you want to see that test come back to, right, is that up thrust. So our up thrust after distribution is really right here. So this black line right here is really representing where that test area should be. So we should really come back and test, like at the very minimum, that black line. Like we should touch that, right? It might not touch it exactly, but really what we can sit here and do now is identify our smaller time frame institutional areas, right? So where do we actually need to fill, right? Where do we actually need to have the market come and correct itself? So what we have to do now, because what we typically like to look for me, right? I like to look for phase C, phase D distribution. So right now we're in phase C in my eyes, right? We just identified the up thrust after distribution. So the next thing that I like to identify is a 4-hour to 1-hour break of structure, right? What we have right here is a 4-hour break of structure. The next thing that I like to do is identify, just ideally, okay, where's our targets, right? Because one thing that my mentor really taught me, right? If you guys ever heard or watched or pay attention to Jordan Morgan, right? He's the person that was able to really teach me how to become so profitable, just so fast within the markets. And it's, you shouldn't take a trade if you don't have a target. I feel like a lot of the times we get stuck because it's like we want to take a trade because we want to be in. We just want to be in. It's like, think about trading as like a party. Like, this is how we view it sometimes. Trading's like a party. We don't never not want to be invited to the party, right? You see someone drop a screenshot, right? You see someone drop some profits for the day. You're like, I want to be part of the party too, right? Drop a one if you've ever, like, if you've ever been that person that, damn, you just took a trade because you wanted to be a part of the party. You just wanted to trade. It wasn't even that you had a target. It wasn't even that there was necessarily a fundamental place for you to actually exit that position. It was just because you were excited. It was because you wanted to be involved with what you felt like you were missing out on. And what does that lead back to, family? What were we talking about earlier? What is FOMO? Why would you get FOMO? Would you get FOMO from living in a state of abundance or living in a state of what? So this is the question of the day for you guys. What state are you in? Are you in a state of abundance or a state of lack? I just told you guys, right? I experienced a loss to start the week, but it's like, do you think I'm worried about that? Because if I was, I would be in a state of lack. So that means that things would continue to not go my way. But that's simply not the case. I know I'm blessed, and I know that blessings continue to flow my way. And I know that everything makes sense. So what we really have to identify within ourselves is, okay, Is our technicals okay? Right, but is our fundamentals okay? Do you guys know how to actually sit here and take the fundamentals that are going to be able to make you just a sniper in the markets and get these crazy entries, right? Are you going to be able to take that and actually be profitable? Because it doesn't matter if you get the entries. A lot of you could get the entries, but it's about keeping the money. Like, how many of you guys are actively looking to get funded? Drop a 333 in the chat. Is that a goal of any of you guys in the chat? Let me see some more cameras too, family. Let me see who I'm talking to. It's Sunday night. What are you guys doing? You guys are at home. Let me see some faces, family. Let me see who's taking notes. Let me see who's active. Right? So everybody wants to become fun to trade. So let me ask you guys, every single person to drop a 3. Drop a yes or no now, right? How many of you guys in the last two trading weeks, how many of you guys have disobeyed at least one of your trading rules? So drop a yes if you disobeyed one of your trading rules, or you just simply did not follow your trading rules. Anybody else? Everybody else follow their rules perfectly? Because the first step to growth is accountability. If you are, more power to you. If you're not, you have to be honest with yourself. Okay? But the one thing about becoming a better trader is, who do you listen to? Because the one thing that I'll tell you, right, is my mentors, the people that I look up to, have literally, it's been years since they haven't followed their trading plan. It's been years. Could you imagine saying that you haven't followed your rules in years? It's been years since you've done that. Could you imagine how profitable you guys would be? Could you imagine? I want you guys to just really, really take that in for a second. Trading 1 to 20s, 1 to 30s, 1 to 40s. Could you imagine that? How profitable if you followed every single one of your rules. So you have to ask yourself, what right now is holding you back from following every single one of your rules? It's the state of life. You want things now. You want instant gratification. And that's fine. But you have to make a choice, because it's not going to be fine in 10 years. It's not going to be fine in 5. Like I said, the piece of trash in the corner doesn't matter now, but in 2 years, doing the same thing over and over is going to bother you a little bit. It might almost make life unbearable. So you have to ask yourself, is your life desirable right now because bad things just always happen to you? Or is life not desirable right now because you're choosing for it to not be desirable? You guys believe that? Like, you guys believe in law of attraction? You guys believe that you guys can really manifest like anything that you want? Like, you guys believe in God? You guys believe that really there's a power greater than us, right? Something that's above us, right? Drop in the chat. How many of you guys believe in something greater than us? Whether it's a power, whether it's whatever you guys want, right? So think about this, right? No matter what you believe in, okay, every religion, if you're spiritual, no matter what it is, right? If you want to become successful, right, there's universal laws, right? So one thing I want you to understand about something that's universal, okay? Something that's universal applies to all, okay? So we all live in the universe. So if something's universal, that means it applies everywhere. So we have to start looking at our life as, okay, there's all of these laws. How many of them are we following, and how many of them are we understanding? For those of you that are not familiar, you guys take a picture of this, right? The 12 spiritual laws of the universe, okay? Number 1, the law of divine oneness, right? We are all one. We are all interconnected, right? We all share some type of energy that just comes from the same place, okay? Law number 2, law of vibration. This is where a lot of people, I promise you, like, even right now, can you guys hear the frequencies in the background? How many of you guys feel calm? Maybe a little bit more calm than before you were on the call. Right, this frequency right here, if you guys want some frequencies that'll help, if you ever get sick, write this down. Okay, write this down. If you ever get sick, 174 hertz, listen to that. Right, 174 hertz. Right, if you guys want to manifest certain things, right, if you guys want to be able to just tap into your inner self, right, 963 is good. Right, if you guys want to feel that love, right, 528. Right, 528 is typically what I listen to throughout the day. But right now, I feel like everyone right now going into Sunday, right, we're looking to manifest. We're looking to really have a better week than we did last week. Maybe some of you guys went through some turmoils. Maybe some of you guys got hit with some obstacles. I get hit with a new motherfucking obstacle every single week. And it's like, I don't even get bothered anymore because I'm like, this is like, as crazy as some things may seem, everything always works out in my favor. And I want you to write that statement down. Everything always works out in my favor. Whenever things go left, whenever you get bothered, whenever you get upset, I want you to say that statement. I don't know how, but this is going to work out in my favor. I don't know how. Okay? Because your vibration, you need to be vibrating at the same level of success in order to attract success. You can't, the laws of the universe, remember, we just dissected the laws. They apply to everywhere. It's like you can't break the laws. This is just something that's greater than us, right? This comes from that creator, that source, God, right? So understand the law of vibration. You need to be vibrating at the level of success. How do you raise your vibration? Right? Right here. By your, right here. This is a simplistic one, right? But just go look up a chart of the levels of consciousness, right? The first level of consciousness, right, is shame and guilt. If you guys live in a state of shame or guilt right now, if you're guilty about decisions that you could have made or should have, would have, right? If you're shameful about things that have already happened, if you live in shame about who you really are, you might be shameful about the fact that you're not disciplined. You might be guilty about the fact that you don't follow your trading plan. Like, these are all emotions that are normal for us, and we have to understand the first step is awareness. So now you guys can understand being shameful and being guilty, you are at the lowest level of consciousness possible. Okay? So it is better to be angry. Like, if you were broke right now, it's instead of being shameful, you should be angry. I'd be angry. I'd be like, how did you let yourself get to this position? I would rather be angry. I'd rather be frustrated. Right? And ideally, what you want to be able to do is work your way up to that acceptance level. I'm going to get a better chart. Right? So you can see these are some of the lowest vibrational emotions: shame, guilt, grief, apathy. Right? So what is grief? Sadness, regret, and depression. Right? What is guilt? Victimhood and blame. What is shame? Being miserable or humiliation. Think about those emotions. How many times as human beings do we experience those on a day-to-day basis? Like, I'm gonna drop a 1. Drop a 1 if you experience any of those throughout the day-to-day basis. Because I can tell you, there's times where easily, that motherfucking train that you thought was gonna hit TP, that hit stop loss, dude, you try and tell me for a split second you're not feeling one of those emotions. Okay? So this is where we have to be real. We all get to that level, but what are you doing when you feel that? How long do you allow yourself to feel that way? Right? Because immediately I get angry. I tell myself it's better to be angry. I'd rather sit there and be angry, right? And I get angry for a split second. I'm like, how stupid could you have been? Angry at the fact that you're just so stupid. I'm like, that's not what a smart person does. And then after, what I'm able to do is just get to a level of acceptance. I just accept, okay, this happened. Let's move forward. Because if I keep worrying about this, I'm going to keep attracting the same result. A lot of you have one bad thing happen to you and you relive that experience over and over and over again. And notice, when you're trading, if you're not profitable right now, haven't you guys noticed that the same thing keeps happening over and over again? You keep losing in the same way. It's not something different that keeps hitting you. It's the same thing. You keep having the same habits, the same patterns, right? So you need to understand the law of vibration, right? The law of correspondence, right? This is really just understanding just like what you put into the world is really going to come back to you. Got my forward touch and got it back. Keep pushing. Yeah, literally just like that, right? The next law of attraction. This is one that we talked about. All of you said that you know it. If the life you have right now isn't desirable, you are attracting it. So change it. You're powerful. You're that powerful. If nobody told you were powerful, I'm going to tell you right now, you are powerful. Like, we're fucking scary powerful, but it's like we just don't believe. We don't believe in it, bro. Like, we literally just don't believe in it, bro. I promise you, if some of you guys had the belief that I had in myself to just be successful and to, like, never quit, that would just be it. Like, when it comes down to like Silva, when it comes down to like Jordan, when it comes down to Zach, I've seen these guys go through certain things where it's crazy, but they just continue to attract everything that they wanted. And this is what we have to continue to do, right? Law of inspired action. This is where a lot of you guys get cooked as well. What are you guys doing that's enjoyable for you? You have to be inspired when you take the action. You have to be literally, it has to be something that gives you fulfillment. What type of fulfillment do you get from what you do on a day-to-day basis? Ask yourself that question, right? Right. And I'm going through the next 3 laws quick, right? The law of perpetual transmutation of energy, right? It's just really understanding that energy is transferred, right? It's not destroyed. Okay? So think about this. If you sit there and it's like you're constantly, if you're living in an environment where there's a lot of people arguing and there's a lot of people fighting and there's a lot of just toxicness, that energy doesn't just like disappear, right? It lingers, right? And it doesn't get destroyed, it just gets transferred. Okay, so then there's a law of cause and effect. It's basically the law of karma. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So think about it. If you sit there and you don't follow your trading plan one time and you over leverage and you hit take profit on that trade, the law of cause and effect is going to allow you to hit take profit on that one trade, but the next 10 trades are going to blow your account. Okay. And the last law, the law of compensation. So this states that you should be compensated for the action that you put into the world, right? But this is where a lot of people get the law backwards. You can't expect to be compensated until you compensate other people. You must provide value and service and give to other people before you expect to receive in yourself. The reason why a lot of you are broke is because you're selfish. I'm gonna be honest. You're fucking selfish and you're greedy. Stop being selfish and stop being greedy. Start helping people and feeling good about it. Some of you help people, it's like you're like, wow, I wish I didn't have to do this. Right? But then it's also knowing when to say no. Okay? So understanding the laws of the universe, like I said, that's another puzzle piece, right? How many puzzle pieces do you guys have? Like I said, I have a couple. I don't have them all, but I have a couple. I'll tell you, my puzzle looks somewhat complete. Like, you know, when you first start a puzzle and you can't see, like you can't really see it, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, how does this make sense? But then you get to a point where you're like, I can see the leg. I can see the arm, right? Right now, I can see the arm, I can see the leg. Okay? That bag, that bag is starting to come in a little bit too. Right? So that's what you guys have to look at this trading journey as, right? It's a puzzle. How many pieces are you guys collecting on a day-to-day basis? Because think about this. Some of you guys have picked up a lot of pieces along the way, but you guys never actually put it down. And so you guys just keep it in your back pocket. Like, I want you to imagine that, family. Like drop an 888 if that really just sat there and it's like that hit you. Like, wow, like, damn, like, I have a lot of pieces right now and I'm not putting them on the board. It's crazy. It's like you have so much more value than you give yourself credit for. But it's about being a student in the game. Leverage what you have until what you have is good enough to leverage. Stop trying to be in a rush to sit here and do everything, and sit here and get good at one thing. Master. That's what I challenge you guys to do this week. Pick a new discipline this week and stay consistent with it. Stay consistent with it for more than a couple of days, more than a couple of weeks. You guys want to know a secret? You guys want to know a secret to develop habits? Because it takes 21 days to develop a habit, right? So if you do something every day for at least 18 minutes for 21 days consecutively, it'll become a habit. So you mean to tell me you're not able to be disciplined for 21 days in order to become somebody who habitually follows their training plan? You mean to tell me you cannot do that? What does that say about us as human beings if we can't do something for 21 days that's going to change our lives forever? Jim Rohn says it. A week of neglect causes a year of repair. Some of us sit here and we waste the days and the weeks, and we wonder why years have gone by and we're in the same position when it comes down to our bank account. We wonder why we're in the same position when it comes down to our mindset and our psychology and our belief in that energy. So, that being said, really the areas, like I said, that I'm really kind of looking for in terms of goal to come down to, right, is based off of this hourly. In my eyes, I can see one of two things happening, right? So gold being gold and doing gold things. This is what I could expect. I just have to check to see if we had any news. We don't have any news until Wednesday. So we have CPI. So this is why I think we could really get the start of this selling off now, because we don't have news till Wednesdays. So I think we could really hit out a lot of late buyers or sellers right now, who sold like basically at market open today, or sold late just during New York session on Friday. So I see this as we have some liquidity. So what we could do, we could potentially see a run on this, just because, like I said, gold, be doing gold things. So we could see a wick, like literally, like I wouldn't want to see a close above this structure, but if we saw a wick and then it closed below, to me, that like I've seen it a million times. Like I said, gold doesn't want anybody to be in the top. So if this is really going to be the top, right, this is what I would expect. So even with that, like I said, really the area that I'm looking to just really see how price kind of reacts and to see if we could get a potential reaction will be this 2042 to about 2047 area, right? So it's about a 50-point range, but obviously what we're going to sit there and do is wait for price to develop, and ideally what I'm going to want to see is one of two things, right? So we already got the confluence on the higher time frames of what we want when it comes down to phase C, upthrust after distribution. Now we're looking for that test area. We've identified where that test area could be, right? What we've also now tracked down is the 30-minute and 1 hour insufficiency. So the reason why I like this as well is because even from the perspective of like the 30-minute, right? After we made this initial high, we never actually closed back above this structure, right? So the way that I look at it, from us making this new lower high, right, we've never actually came back into the body of this candle, into this last drive up. So if you guys are familiar with the term institutional candle, it's candles, right? It's going to be institutional candles or institutional area. So this right here, what you have to understand, right, this, in terms of price action, we see this bearishness, then we get these selling candles, two big impulsive buy candles, to then what? Slowly trickle down, then poof, we get that close below that low, which breaks structure. Once we close below this low, But notice how we didn't just close below that low, right? In terms of the hourly and the 4 hour, we got that break of structure as well. So in my eyes, we at the very least have to come back and just really tap into here. And it looks like we have a gap on top of this candle. So it looks like there's no wick there. So to me, that also looks like a potential point of interest. I'm not really going to be so keen right away to playing necessarily this first area. I would want to see it pop up, but I would still take it. So it's just a matter of waiting for the one of two things, which I didn't tell you guys, which would simply just be a smaller time frame break of structure. So basically, what I would want to see. I don't see something like this. So I would want to see something like this in terms of like the 5 minute. So I'd want to see us continue higher high, higher low, right? And then here we obviously don't get higher low. We break below that area, we come back up. What do we make? Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Okay. So ideally I would look to see something like that on the 5 minute in either of these two areas. So same thing, right? You get higher high, higher low, higher high, break, test, down. Okay. So this is what I would be looking for in both of these areas, right? Or I would just be looking for smaller time frame distribution. So like 1 minute distro or like 3 minute distribution, 5 minute distribution. If you're not so good with distribution in terms of positioning yourself, especially on the smaller time frames, I would just play this area that we identified in terms of that upthrust, right? This is ideally where we should see that test, but still pay attention to how price kind of reacts out of this first initial area, because the way that I look at it, the reason why I don't really like this area initially, like unless we push above, the only way that I'll really like this area super crazy is if we sweep that liquidity that we have resting right here. So basically we'd want to see a poke into that, like something like this, like something like that, right? So sweep that liquidity and then boom, like not obviously straight down, but I'd want to see it kind of slowly walk itself down, lower low, lower high, right? So ideally in terms of that as well, the reason why I like this area even more is just because we do have this liquidity here. So for me, this top area is really going to be where I'd be looking. So ideally, if you were to just play like the full insufficiency, right, in that same area, like safe stop loss, in my eyes, if you wanted to just like be conservative with just the area that we were playing, probably be about like 40 points, right? I wouldn't necessarily like, I would wait to see how deep we push in, because we could also kind of feel a little bit higher. We have a smaller time frame insufficiency, but in my eyes, it's build on the smaller time frame. We don't really have to come back. So I'm really looking more towards this area. But really, I would say you could narrow it down to about like 25 points. Just really, I would say have it above at least here, this high. So ideally, SL area to me would be in between here, just depending on how deep we come. Because if we sweep like this, you could look to position yourself even higher. But ideally, this first area is what I like. Right, we could potentially see like a 20-30 point stop if we can get this push all the way into here, which would be like ideally that would be beautiful. And in terms of first target, ideally to me, easy first target would just be like obviously a new low, but I really would expect to see potentially a little pop. Like I truthfully don't think we're gonna react at all. Like I think we're just like we're gonna hesitate before we take the lows. But I think we're gonna dip into here. We're probably gonna get a fill out of here, bounce a little bit, consolidate, 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 pop up, and then drop. But realistically, overall, where I'd be looking to target would be these equal lows right here, right? So from that area, what we would be looking at is approximately about a 1 to 27, right? So for those of you that are like, yo, Cash, like, how do you get a 1 to 20? I just literally showed you the full breakdown of how I personally sit here and look for my positions and my setups. And does this fit the criteria of a 1 to 20 to 1 to 40, a 1 to 27? I think so, right? I didn't graduate math in high school, right? But my math is math in there, if I do say so myself, right? So ideally, this black line is going to be that sweet spot, right? So that's going to be where we're going to be looking to area. The box is just going to be the very minimum in terms of entry area. But like I said, we could still potentially just play this lower area, but it would just be a matter of if we get that break of structure and that liquidity sweep. So that's really what I'm looking for. But DXY, really what I would be expecting is us to fill a little bit lower, right? So I actually wanted to see us fill here. So that's why to me, the gold fill to the upside makes a lot of sense right now as well, because it just aligns with what I want to see on DXY as well. So in terms of DXY, I do want to see us push lower for right now, which is going to cause gold to go higher, right? Hopefully into our entry area. But ideally, what I'm expecting to see on this, I want to see just these lows get taken. We really just generated some equal lows in my eyes, like over the last couple of days in terms of just market condition. So to me, I just think this is going to be us cleaning the board, right? I still want to see the equal highs get taken. I think we're bullish overall. In terms of just even the initial 4 hour reaction was nice. Like I said, the equal highs, like we just left so many, like think about it. Look at how many equal highs we just like, ooh, equal highs. Like equal highs everywhere in terms of DXY if we look to the left. So notice how for the last, let's say since 2008, the dollar has been bullish, right? And this is what I want you guys to pay attention to: world events, right? 2008, what happened in 2008? Market crash, right? Real estate market, housing market crash, right? Everything crashed. So 2008, everything crashed, right? We go sit here and look at metals, right? What happened in 2008? Where was gold? Gold was all the way down here, $700. 2008 happened, right? So since 2008, right, the dollar's been bullish, right? And so has gold. So ideally right now, gold DXY right now is basically not even in perspective, like to high in perspective to where we need to come to. Like DXY could get all the way up here. Like this is what you have to understand right now, right? They're telling you to buy at a very low point, right? And they're creating scarcity for a purpose, right? So what I really anticipate, like I said, is us to take these lows, fill deeper into this hourly 4 hour insufficiency, to then see that continuation higher for the dollar. So this is what I'm expecting for the dollar. Sorry, I had to take a bite. Wow, it was so good. I was supposed to eat, but then I'm gonna shower, eat, run a call. Right. So when it comes down to dollar, this is what my current overview is. So this is another puzzle piece, right? Higher time frame bias, directional bias with dollar. So I'm not paying attention to what the dollar is doing on the 30-minute. I don't care what it does on the 30-minute. I'm looking at 4-hour structure. I'm looking at the hourly structure. That's what I'm paying attention to. The in between doesn't matter for dollar because that's how a lot of you get clapped. Dollar goes down, gold goes down. You're like, why is this happening? Gold should be going down. Then your stop loss gets hit, then it reverses, and then you're like, oh my god, right? So in terms of that, that's really what I'm looking for. But from like a 4-hour perspective, right? This insufficiency right here aligns too with all of our areas, right? So we have an imbalance in between that same like, is it crazy how all of these things just align? So our institutional area, that area where the banks get in, aligns right with that upthrust after distribution, that test area. And you think that's a coincidence? Maybe. But this is what I say. It's so fractal, right, family, when it comes down to this. So in terms of the markets, like I said, I felt like today was shit, I didn't even realize. I feel like I've been going for a while. But I really feel like today was an informational call when it came down to more than just like an entry. Like I just gave you guys a top down, like this is how long it takes me to really like top down. Like it doesn't actually take, like you guys see how long it really took me. It took me a couple minutes, right? That's how long it takes me to mark up the chart. But in terms of being able to break it down, right? Like drop a one if something that maybe didn't make sense before made sense to you now, right? Or even drop a two if something maybe didn't even make sense, right? And if you drop a two, just drop in the chat what exactly didn't make sense, right? Because maybe I could either make it make sense for you, or I could lead you in the right direction on where you can sit there and potentially get that that outlook. Booming, booming, booming. So for those of you that were a part of the boot camp last week, right?